Hi, my name is Destiny and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video we'll be building a rock, paper and scissors game using Python, and it would have the ability to detect when a player wins or when the computer wins. It could also keep record of wins for both the player and the computer, and it could also detect a tie, wrong comments, and can quit the game whenever you want to. So without wasting any more time, let's just get started. Hi and welcome back to the tutorial. So you could use any code editor or IDE that you want to use. In my case, I'll be using the pygame IDE. So the first thing you want to do is create a new file over here. So I just right clicked on these, come over to new, and I want to create a new Python file, and let's just name this rock paper scissors. I'm just naming this RPS and click on go. So when this is done, the first thing I want to do is import the random function, because the random package, because that's what we'll be using. Then the next thing I want to do is define a variable of game list, and I want to set this to a list, and the list would take in rock paper scissors. Hopefully I got the spelling correct. So the list will take in rock, paper and scissors. Then the next thing you want to do here is define a variable for the computer. So this would be the computer, and want to make this C. So the C is here is what we use to keep track of the scores and increment it when we need to, and want to give this a value of 0 now. So we also want to define a variable here, command, which would be for the player, and we want to give this a P and give this a value of 0. So this P over here is also what we will use to increment scores and keep track of scores, and I'll show you how to do this in just a few minutes. So let's continue. After this is done, wanna print score, and make sure you're giving this a space here, because you don't want your score and computer to be attached together. So just give this space over here. You could just follow along and see how everything is working here. So you want to print score and make sure that this is still in the same string, then computer. Then after this is done like this, just come out of the string and concatenate this. Hopefully you know how concatenation works now in Python. If you have watched some basic Python tutorials that show you some basic things in Python and all that, you should know how concatenation works now. So the next thing you want to do here is pass in this command C over here that we'll be using to keep tracks of score. And if you take note, this would be keeping track of integers and not strings, and when we want to run this code, you get an error because this expects this to be in string and not integers. So what we want to do is just convert this into a string, and in order to do that, you just put that in parentheses and put an str at its back, just as simple as that. Then want to concatenate this again, open up a string, and let's print out the player, and want to print out its own score. Concatenate this, then strp, just like this. Very easy. Hopefully you understand what this does, and let me go through it again. So I'm printing score, computer, then the score of the computer over here, player, then the score of the player. This is what it does. Now the concatenation, what it does is like join strings and variables together. Just take note of that. It's join strings and variables together. That's just the easiest way I could just explain this now. And the next thing you want to do now is define the loop. So let's just put a comment over here, and this should be for the loop. Now we want to define a variable, and let's put this to true. So this is the loop we'll be using, run variable over here. Then let's define a while loop here. So we're saying while run, you want to put a variable, define a variable here with computer underscore choice. So this is what we're using to choose either rock, paper or scissors for the computer. Now the computer's choice would randomly choose its own command over here, which is either the rock, paper or scissors. So in order to do that, you want to use the random function that we imported earlier. Then we want to say random dot choice, and let's just pass in the game list variable that we defined over here. So what this does is random.choice game list. Now it will randomly choose from rock, paper, or scissors, or it could choose rock, scissors, paper, or scissors, rock, paper. It would randomly choose numbers from there. So that's what that variable that we did over here would do. Random.choice, this is what the method would do. So the next thing you want to do over here is also make a variable for the player, which is comment input. And if you take a close look at this, you, the player, would want to input your own comment here manually. You wouldn't want a computer to choose it randomly for you. So that's why we put an input function. So with this input function, what it will do is give you the opportunity to type out your own comment, either the rock, paper, or scissors. So with that, let's give you some options here: rock, paper, rock, paper. Make sure you're putting the comment here: rock, paper, scissors, or quit. Now this is showing a red line below this just because I haven't entered this with a string. So what this line does over here is give you an option, which is this input, to choose either rock, paper, scissors, or quit. So when that's done, let's just go ahead and start making some conditional statements. The first one I want to make is if comment is equal to computer choice, then what do you want to do? We want to print tie, and that should be in a string. So what this one over here does is it actually checks if the command of the player and the command of the computer are the same thing. So if they are the same thing, it would print tie. And what that just means is if the player choose rock and the computer choose rock, it would just print tie, because that's obviously a tie. So that's what this code over here does. If command is equal to computer choice, and take note of the equal to, it's not just one, it's two equal sign. So if command is equal computer choice, print tie. So that's the first one we'll be doing. The next one I want to do is an else if, and in Python it's called elif. Take note of that, elif, elif. So I want to do if command, sorry, let's correct that. If if comment is equal to rock, which we defined over here. So now we're taking all this from the list. So if it's equal to rock, then what do we want to do? We want to print, sorry, we don't want to print anything. What we should do here is check if the computer choice, sorry, computer choice is equal to scissors. Then what we want to do is print player one. So let me just make this a capital letter. So we checked if command, which is the player's command, is equal to rock, and we also checked if the computer choice is equal to scissors. Then that means the player won because rock wins scissors. Hopefully that's very easy and understandable. So we printed player one. Then the next thing we want to do is come over here and increment the score of the player. So we used p, which we defined here, if you could remember earlier in this video. So p plus equal to 1. So what's plus equal to 1 is like p is equal to p plus 1. It's just the same thing as this. P is equal to p plus 1. So whenever a player wins, it adds 1 to their score. So that's what it does. But I don't want to use this long one over here. I just want to use p equal to p plus equal to 1, just like this. Down here where there's if, we also want to check if this was vice versa. So if the computer chose rock and the command chose scissors, take note of that. If the computer in this case chose rock and the command chose scissors, then what do we want to do? Now we want to give an else statement. Else, then print computer 1, print computer 1 just like that. Then you want to increment the score of the computer. So like this, you increment the score of the computer. Very easy. Then we want to copy this code over here. We'll be reusing most of it. Then paste this down here. So for the second one, what we want to do here is check if the player's command was equal to paper and the computer's command was equal to rock. Then you want to print player 1, increment their score again. Then else, if this was vice versa, you want to print computer 1, then increment the score of the computer. As easy as that. Copy this code again, and let's do this for the last time, I think. So paste this here, and want to check if the command of the player was scissors and the command of the computer was paper. Then just do the same thing, print player 1, increment their score, print computer 1. If it's vice versa, increment the computer score. And hopefully I think you are understanding what's going on here. It's very easy and straightforward. Just if the player's command was scissors, just the normal rock paper scissors. When scissors wins paper and all that, hopefully you know what it does already. Paper wins rock and rock wins scissors. But if the computer chose scissors and the player chose paper, do the other thing like the other way around. That's why we use this else here. It's self-explanatory what else does. So when all this is done, I think that's the last one. The next thing I want to come over and do is make another elif statement and say if the player chose quit. So you might get bored of the game and you want to quit it, and you chose quit instead of choosing rock paper or scissors. Then what do we want to do? We want to break the loop that we're running up there, and in this case what we want to do again is print else print, let's say, wrong numbers, or let's just say wrong command instead, wrong command. So what this one does over here is, let's say the player then choose scissors, paper, or rock. Let's say the player chose something else, or there was a typo in their commands. Maybe they wanted to type paper and there was a double P here instead of a single P. So we want to print wrong command in that case. Then after this, the next thing I want to do here is start doing some basic print checks and all that. So first of all, let's print with string. Want to print player like this, then concatenate this command player plus command. So let me just explain what this would do. Now it would print player and the command that the player chose. Let's say the player chose rock, it would print player then rock, or player then scissors. Don't worry, you'll see this in just few seconds. We're almost done with this. Then I also want to duplicate this, so I used Ctrl D to duplicate it, and I want to change this one over here to computer. So change this to computer, and I want to change this to computer underscore choice. So if the computer chose rock, it should print computer then rock with its command, or if the player chose scissors, it should print player then scissors. So let's continue. After this, I want to print an empty string, so it gives this a line, or you could just add something like this, but I want to leave it empty just like that. Then after this, finally, let me arrange the indentation. So finally, I want to print score, and let's say the computer score. Let's give this a space over here, then concatenate this. Just do the same thing that we did over here. If you can still remember, we could just copy this, it's almost the same thing, and paste it down here. Very easy. So with this, I think we are done. The last thing that I want to do is maybe just give an empty line over there. Let's just copy this empty string and put it down here. So that's pretty much it. Let's go through it again and see if there are any errors. I think everything should work fine now, and let's just run this and see what we have. So now if you take a close look at the terminal, it's printing score computer 0 player 0, and this is what I was trying to say. As you can see, the computer 0 player 0, they are like together, but want to give that a space. So let's just come over here and give a space here, and at the back of the player you want to give a space here also. So now let's rerun this and see what we have. Now as you can see, no, that's not what I want. So let me just rerun this and see, and let's actually see if this was corrected here. So it wasn't corrected. Give this a space, give that a space, and let's rerun this. So as you can see, now this is computer 0 player 0. Now let's choose either rock paper or scissors, and I chose rock. So as you can see, this was a tie. The player chose rock, the computer chose rock, and the score is still computer 0 player 0. And let's go ahead and choose another one. So I want to choose paper, and let's see, now the player won, and that's because the player chose paper and the computer chose rock. Now if you take a look at the score, you see that it's known as score computer 0 player 1, and you could just go ahead. In this case, let me take rock again, and when I take rock, as you can see, the player won again because the player chose rock and the computer chose scissors this time, and the player won. And let's choose randomly and see if the computer actually wins something. So I want to take rock. Oh, as you can see, the computer won now because I chose rock and the computer chose paper. Now the computer won. And take a look at a score. It now has computer 1 player 2, and you could also experiment with what to try doing for this one over here, which to check if the player chose a rank command, this one. So let's just type something that's not actually right. So as you can see, we typed rock with a lower with a small letter R, and it gave a wrong command, and it's just rerun the game again. And let's type quit and see what happens. So quit, as you can see, it shows process finished with exit code 0. So the program successfully quit itself. So there's one more thing I want to do before we actually round up this tutorial, and that's this. So if you take notes, rock paper scissors or quit, the quit is just very close to the rock. So let's just come over here and fix that. And where should that be? So it should be in the input, I think. Yeah, from here you want to give this a semicolon inside the string like this, and let's give this a space, and let's see how this looks now. So as you can see, it's looking very nice now. Player 1 and the score is there, and that was pretty much it. I love the way everything turned out to be. Very easy. I think just 48 lines of code with just one random package. And that was pretty much it for this video, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and if you did, please do not forget to give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to stay updated with 2 new videos every week, as it will mean the world to me. And I hope I'll see you in my next video. Bye for now.